Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Now I'm starting with the next, that is the sixth lecture on the series of autopsy. And in this lecture, I will discuss the protocol of autopsy, continuing with the previous lecture. And in this, we will discuss what is protocol of autopsy as document and what are the contents of this document, because when we say protocol of autopsy, we understand that this is the procedural detail for the conduction of autopsy, whereas the protocol means a written signed document. So we will discuss what as document it is, what are its contents. Then in this lecture, I will discuss what are pre-autopsy formalities. And the most important pre-autopsy formalities are the visit to the scene of crime, which is not the job of the doctor conducting the autopsy in our country, and transportation of the dead body from the place of crime to the storage area where the autopsy is to be conducted. And that job is also done by the police. Then pre-autopsy storage. These are three most important aspects which are pre-autopsy formalities. Then there are other formalities like registration, other legal formalities, collection of documentations, and place of conducting the autopsy. So we will discuss these in this lecture, and these will be our learning objectives. Okay. Hello everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Continuing with the topic of protocol of autopsy, lecture number 6 it is. In this lecture, we will discuss what is the document, protocol of autopsy as document. So autopsy protocol means it's a written signed document, legal document of records of autopsy findings and the conclusion drawn, which acts as a proof and is an evidence to be presented in the court of law. So it's a legal signed document containing all the information and the findings about the autopsy which the doctor has gathered and the conclusion drawn by the doctor. And this document is important document regarding autopsy which is to be presented in the court of law. It contains the biodata, the personal information about the deceased, identification, who were the identifiers, what was the method of identification, and usually it is third-party method. Then the findings of examination. All the examination finding, external as well as internal, they are written down. External examination of the body, of the clothes, then the internal examination, systemic examination review, and collection of samples and recoveries. Collection of samples for the subsequent labs if the further examinations are required. Then the conclusion drawn. What is the final conclusion about the cause of death, about what are the objectives? All the objectives conclusion is in this document. Then all the documentation, documents coming through the police to you and documents going out from you to the various labs and to the police. Now, what are the pre-autopsy formalities? The most important, they are visit to the scene of crime, transportation of the dead body to the autopsy center, registration of the body, pre-autopsy storage, legal formalities and other formalities, and the place of performing the autopsy. So these are the pre-autopsy formalities which has to be fulfilled before conduction of the autopsy. So the pre-autopsy protocol means the most important: visit to the scene of crime, transportation of the dead body, and pre-autopsy storage. They are the most important. Regarding the visit to the scene of crime, in our country, it is the job of the police. And whereas in developed countries, it is the job of the autopsy surgeon or the system which is prevalent in those countries. In the previous lecture, I have discussed the three investigating system: the medical examiner system, the continental system, and the coroner system. So whatever system prevalent, they will visit to the scene of crime. They cordon off the area, they search the scene of crime in detail, finding the trace evidence or any evidence which is left over, and then sketching and taking the photographs of the scene of crime. They find out the position of the body, in which the body is lying. Then collection of material like weapons and other evidences, they are collected. Biological material, non-biological material, or anything which is left over at the scene of crime. Then they look for the signs of the struggle and preserve them. And they search for the biological and non-biological trace evidences. So these are all pre-autopsy steps which are taken at the scene of crime. Then the transportation of the dead body. The transportation, there is a set protocol that you wrap up the body in plastic sheet or plastic bag so that you may not lose any evidence. And the dead body should be transported with due care not to lose any evidence or may not induce any post-mortem injury. The body should be wrapped in plastic sheet, tied at the head and the foot ends, and then it should be transported. Then registration of the dead body. On the receipt of the dead body at the autopsy center, the authorized staff will register and make the entries in register, like entry into the general register, entry into the autopsy register, and putting the identification tag showing the name of the deceased, age, sex, police constables, and the police station name. So the constable which are escorting the dead body, their names and numbers are entered. Then the shifting of the body for the storage in the storage room to the freezers. Then the columns of register, which are normally in general register, there is a serial number. Then the date and time of the receipt of the dead body, name and identity number of the deceased, name and numbers of the constables and their police station, and date and time of delivery of the dead body. Finally, when after autopsy it is handed over to police, it is again entered into the general register. So from the general register, you can immediately see the date of arrival and date of delivery of the dead body. Then in the autopsy register, it is entered as yearly number, the autopsy number, the name, date, and type of the time of the autopsy, and details of the specimen which are collected for the further testing in other labs. Then provisional conclusion about the cause of death. So these findings are entered in the autopsy register when you are going to start the autopsy, when you are going to end up the autopsy. So this is a register which is maintained in the departments. Then regarding the pre-autopsy storage, they are single freezers or multiple freezers or in in a larger compartment or a storage room. So these are various methods of pre-autopsy storage of the dead bodies before the conduction of autopsy or the postmortem. The pre-autopsy storage, for the short-term storage, the bodies are kept in the freezer as at +4 degrees Celsius, +4 degrees centigrade. And for long-term storage, which is usually required after the autopsy, the bodies are kept at -20 degrees Celsius. Then regarding the legal formalities, when the police bring the body to the mortuary, initially they request for the preservation of the dead body for 3 days in our country, in Pakistan. They request that we are storing this body for the 3 days till the legal formalities they are fulfilled. And the most important legal formality is lodging of the first information report, that is FIR, by the legal heirs in case of any suspicious, homicidal, accidental, or suicidal death. Then issuing of the authority letter. After the FIR, the authority letter is issued in the name of the doctor or the head of the institution where the autopsy is going to be conducted. And this authority letter is the most important document without which we cannot conduct autopsy. This is a picture diagram of the authority letter which has been issued in the name of the doctor and name of the disease and the constable who are escorting the dead body. Then other formalities mean that sometimes other documents are required. All the documents which are needed prior to autopsy and documents which are sent after the autopsy, and the documents prior to autopsy will also sometimes contain the hospital notes, the hospital death certificate, hospital charts. So these are the documents which are required. Thank you very much. This is all about the lecture number 6. In the next lecture, we'll discuss the protocol in continuation. Thank you. Take care. Allah Hafiz.